Well, we're at the 2-month point, and RV living has turned out to be somewhat challenging, somewhat enjoyable. Some things have gone just as planned, and other things not so much. Yeah. Well, as far as power production, I think we kind of hit the nail on the head on most things, but we had a visitor that came up, and it was really enjoyable having Danielle's mother with us. But she brought a pop-up camper, and we had a little bit more power needs than we expected at that point, but it wasn't much of a problem. We got an extra panel, and that worked out. One of the comments on our section there was that we should watch out for shadowing, because just a little bit of shade on one single panel has a huge effect when the panels are in series. And sure enough, we did find that out.
Huge.
Yeah.
Much more than you can imagine.
Yeah, so you got to really watch out for that. The other thing is you got to kind of, you know, when we grew our own food, we ate seasonally. Well, you kind of have to use power seasonally too. You know, when it's sunny out, you can watch movies and have all sorts of fun and use as much power as you want. But if you get a couple of days of rain, it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
And you got to be a little bit more efficient with the power. But we've actually, I think we've learned to really adapt well. And gosh, we've got excess power now, so.
It was a process, though.
So I was out at the generator, and I tried to figure out how in the world are we using 2,000 watts? Well, here's a hair straightener, okay? And then at the same time, we've got this going on. So, a note to off-grid wannabes: if you have women, these hair care products will wipe you out. Absolutely cripple your ability to sustain life.
Oops.
Well, we have some trouble in paradise because I was working out here and I ran into one of these cables. And although the cables were all still connected, I had no power. So remember, I built this structure such that I could get to these boxes to check to see if anything was wrong. But there is a wire coming out of here, connecting into there. And although there's a connector over here, there's no wire. All right, so I pulled the wire out. Shame on me. I'm gonna have to fix that and solder that back together. And but here's the great thing: because these are in series, what I did was I just went from panel 1 to panel 2, skipped panel 3, went to 4, 5, 6, and I've actually installed a 7th on there. So I now have full power to the solar bank, and because I designed this such that I could remove each panel, I've still got power on the other 6 panels. I can remove this panel real quick, fix it, and put it back on. So that's kind of key when you put these things together. Make sure you can repair them, because inevitably somebody's going to run into these cords, and that's another thing. I'm going to have to wrap these up or tape them up or get them, because they hang down, and when you walk under there, they kind of grab you in the neck. So shame on me. So for those of you who ever wondered the insides of the solar panel, these are incredibly simple. You don't have to be an electrician. It's pretty straightforward. As you can see, these connections, the wire comes in. This little screw thing here, this is a clamp. If you can look at this, as you screw this on, it clamps down on the wire and it seals it so they don't get water in there. So there's a gasket to seal it. There's a clamp there that grabs that wire when you screw it down. And the reason they do that is so that you can't pull that wire out. Now, if you're a buffoon like me and you walk under the solar array and you run into it with your head and yank it real hard, it will actually slide through. But it's designed to protect against that. And then, you know, the wire comes in right here and connects right here, and then it's all soldered here. So it's a very simple design. So if you have to repair it, if you have a friend that has a soldering iron, it's a really quick fix. Okay, so now the soldering's complete. I put the wire back on. I want to test it before I put it back in, because if there's a weak panel, it'll cause the whole bank to be weak. So what I've got here is, it's early morning. I'm getting 20 volts out of it right now, 20.2 volts out of it. and it's got some shadowing on it, so that should be good. Let's put it back in this series. Okay, so the panel's back up there. I was pulling just about 21 volts when I put it up there. I checked it again after I installed it all. Then I simply disconnected the wires next to it and panels 2 and 4 and put 3 right in series, and now I've got about 147 volts across the entire bank. Things are looking good. Repair is done.
So this outdoor dining table has sort of become the gathering place during the day. Helps keep everybody out of the camper, but sort of a social hour here. Everyone just gathers on rest times and breaks. The only problem is Rosa seems a little confused about where she belongs. We find ourselves washing the table frequently because she's decided the outdoor table is perfectly acceptable for her to sit on. Rosa, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? And you're no help.
What? It wasn't my fault.
The cat.
She's looking at you and you're not correcting her.
Stop. Down.
Hey, Kyla, you're on the ground where the dog belongs. What are you doing?
Are you a puppy?
You being a puppy today? All right. Well, things are going good out here. Beautiful place to be. Oh, look, there's Tigger. Kitty, kitty. A big challenge we faced was learning how to prepare food, and healthy food. You know, coming from a farm where we grew fresh produce, and I always had a full-size kitchen there to prepare my meals. And we came here where we can't really cook indoors due to the heat, so we use a grill for pretty much everything.
But it's a full-size grill.
It is a full-size grill. It's got a side burner and it's got the inside, which we've actually learned how to use sort of as an oven. Still perfecting that technique.
Yeah, but the one burner, that's tricky. One burner.
Yeah, we need a minimum of 2 for our family.
Yeah, I think so. Lesson learned. So one of the other issues we have boondocking is water. Well, back at Redgate Farm, we collected rainwater, but we have no gutters here to collect rainwater. We also had a well, and we've got no well yet. And we also had a pond. And the pond is being dug, but there's no water in it. So what do we do for water? Well, you might recognize these tanks here from the garden back at Redgate Farm. We had those to gravity feed water down into the grow beds. And we cleaned those out, and we brought them here. And this tank over here was on the back of the golf cart. We used to drive it out into the field and water plants out there. So we had a couple of tanks with us, and we thought we'd put those to use. So what we do is our old 450-gallon truck tank comes in handy because pretty much all small towns have an overhead water station. So we found one nearby. It's only about 5 miles down the road. I think it's a quarter for every 50 gallons. So it takes about 6 quarters to put 300 gallons in here, which is about what we use for a week. So I'm real proud of my family because the average American, for each and every person, they use 82 gallons a day. And my family is down to 7 gallons per person per day. Now, it's a little unfair competition there because first of all, we're not watering the front yard, and that's where a lot of the water goes for American homes. And also, we're not doing washes here. We're not washing our clothes here. We're washing at a laundromat. So the water we're using is for showering, which we shower every day. It's very hot here. Washing dishes and the toilet. Now, our drinking water, we actually buy that separate. But 7 gallons a day per person is pretty good when you consider the fact that we also use that water to water our animals. So we're doing pretty well here. But this tank will fill us up and give us about 1 week of water. So I've got this old pump that I used to use to water the garden with our rainwater. I hooked this up to an inverter in the truck. Now I can hook it to the Blue Eddy, but you know what? I'd rather not use all that power. Now if I have a bright sunny day and I've got excess power, I'll just hook it right to the Blue Eddy. But this will pump it out of here. And these are nice because they're inch or inch and a half, I can't remember, but it's very quick to pump into these tanks here. And I'll put about 240 gallons. I got 120 apiece. Then I can gravity feed from these tanks. That's why they're so high. I can gravity feed from these tanks into my freshwater port there on the side of the RV.
Now what I've done is, you might recognize this. This is a Rainbird Inline water filter. This is a mesh filter, and that way if there's any grit or any particles in that water, it'll get it out in that mesh filter. So I've got really, really clean water that goes into the camper. But this is nice because when the water level gets low, the kids can just go turn that valve there and it flows right into the camper. It's really easy to do, and I don't have to hook up a pump again to get that water across there. So I think we figured out our water situation here, and I'm pretty proud of what we've done. It's working well.
Well, when we arrived out here to Primitive Camp, we expected some creepy crawlies. You know, the normal spiders, flies, maybe a handful of yellow jackets. We were prepared for that.
Yep.
What we were not prepared for were the huge numbers of chiggers and ticks. Oh my goodness.
Well, ticks you can actually see, and you can pick them off. Those chiggers, you can't see them. And you know, the bad thing is when you got a 2-year-old and she just wants to run around everywhere. The rest of us, we kind of know, you go in the woods, you put spray on, you put the long pants on and stuff. But you know, with a 2-year-old, she just wants to go play. And boy, at night she was just covered in chiggers and ticks, and we had to,
for weeks.
Yeah,
we had to do inspections on her, and
had her playing in the water bucket. Had her washed down every single night. We would take her during the day and pick ticks off of her, or just make sure there weren't ticks on her.
So after some experimenting for the first few weeks, we did discover the 2 biggest sources of the chiggers came from
the dog.
Rosa the dog.
Come here, Rosa.
Coming into the camper and jumping on furniture. And the other area we had a problem was in our daytime clothes. You know, the kids would go in and sit on their bedroom floor, which is also where Kyla's bed is, just a mattress on the floor there, and the chiggers would wind up in her bed. Likewise, our bed would get chiggers because Sean would come in
No, it was her
and
fault.
throw his clothes on the bed. So
It was Rosa.
we had to come up with creative ways to deal with that, which... So there for a while, every evening was spent rolling Rosa with the sticky roller, followed by rolling our bed in case we had missed anything. Fortunately, it seemed to work, and the chigger bites decreased significantly.
So one of the issues with living in a camper is you kind of want to try to find ways for the kids to be out of the camper.
Yeah.
And school was a good one, but sports also. They all love sports, and Michaela decided to try the tennis team, and she's quite the good tennis player. I didn't expect that, but she's pretty athletic. Aiden and Ruth joined the cross-country team, and they're enjoying cross-country right now.
Nathan's preparing to hunt this fall. That's his thing.
He's been out shooting that crossbow over and over and over again, checking out the deer stands. We had 3 left on the property, which is kind of nice. But he's got cameras up, and he's scoping out where the animals are hanging out, and he's also practicing football. So we've got a lot of outdoor activities, swimming in the pond, riding bikes.
Touring the local sites and scenes.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun with these outside activities.
A big challenge I discovered was trying to find a place to get my computer work done. You know, just making these videos is kind of a task when you don't have a desk to do it on. And I actually use a regular sized desktop computer, not a laptop. So I've had to get a little creative. I tend to do most of my videos during the day while the kids are at school, and that frees up the camper and keeps it quieter. I'm able to get a little creative with how I set things up, and if Kyla happens to be awake, well, that's the once in a blue moon time. She actually gets to watch some little cartoon on my iPhone while I'm working, and no complaints there.
Well, it was kind of nice when they moved all the heavy equipment up top, because we knew that progress was happening and the actual house site and the barn site were being completed. But that also brought some challenges because that's pretty noisy equipment. Noisy.
you know, a napping baby in the afternoon with an excavator and a bulldozer going around.
A mom's sanity, just kind of wanting to hang on to what's left.
That was a little tricky. I was used to it because I was out with the chainsaw all day, but boy, it really threw a wrench in them. So they left me. They packed up and went down to visit my son in college, and man, they had a good time down there.
I hadn't seen him since June, so I got to go down and see my boy, and Kyla got to see her biggest brother.
Oh, she loves her big brother, and so that was neat to see that reunion.
Hi.
What's that?
Hi. Hi.
What's that?
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I think he needs a big hug.
Hug.
And then we just spent the whole weekend hanging out with him, letting him show us some of his favorite things, and letting some of the siblings be back together. Kyla, of course, making friends even with the school mascot.
Well, we always want to realize that we're making memories down here. So every night is a relaxing evening, usually sitting outside.
Doing homework.
Sometimes doing homework, sometimes sitting by the fire though, sometimes just sitting out playing football with the kids, or just enjoying the stars. You know, the great thing is we have no lights out here, no electricity, so the stars are the limit. Literally, we sit out here and it is absolutely gorgeous. Well, thanks again for watching. We are sorry that we have had a challenge getting these videos out. There are many, many things that we've run into, and I think another video is coming out to kind of discuss some of those. But if you've subscribed, thank you so much. We love your comments. If you haven't, please subscribe and follow our journey. We're loving it so far, and we hope you love it too.
Bye.